subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go.
Hello and welcome to today's DNS session. We are going to have a discussion on today's newspaper, The Hindu, Delhi edition dated 28th August 2021. We shall pick up articles important for civil service examination and discuss them as per the demand of the exam.
This article is from page number 1. Deepar Beel breathes easy after the eco-sensitive zone notification. Actually, the title should be Deepar Beel can breathe easy after eco-sensitive zone notification. The thing is that on August 25, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has notified eco-sensitive zone of Deepar Beel Wildlife Sanctuary. It is also alternatively spelled as Deepar Beel or Deepar Beel. So first of all, eco-sensitive zone has been declared for the wildlife sanctuary, the Deepar Beel Wildlife Sanctuary. This is how it works. The eco-sensitive zone is the region around a protected area. The notification says that an area to an extent varying from 294 meters to 16.32 kilometer has been specified as the eco-sensitive zone. Just take note of this number, 16.32 kilometer. After this notification, there will be no new commercial hotels or resorts permitted within 1 kilometer of the boundary of protected area or up to the extent of eco-sensitive zone, whichever is nearer. Since you understand that the boundary of eco-sensitive zone from the core protected area will vary. It can be as less as 294 meter, as high as 16.32 kilometer. So the distance from the Deepar Beel Wildlife Sanctuary that will come under the regulation will also vary. But in eco-sensitive zone, temporary structures for ecotourism are permitted. There are various things to be talked about here. We'll begin our discussion talking about the Deepar Beel itself. Then we'll understand the importance and significance of Beel in this region, the lake. Then we'll also touch upon eco-sensitive zone itself. See, Beel in the Assami language means lake. It also means a wetland. In general, it means a body of water. Deepar Beel is the largest freshwater lake in Assam and it is the state's only Ramsar site. There are 3 Ramsar sites in northeast India, the other 2 being the Loktak Lake of Manipur and the Rudrasagar Lake of Tripura. The lake really is full of life. It hosts high number of flora and fauna. It hosts many migratory birds. So it has been designated as important bird area and you would know this designation comes from the BirdLife International. If you look at the map of Deepar Beel, you'll see lot many things. First of all, you'll observe that Rani Reserve Forest and also Garbhanga Reserve Forest are very near to the Deepar Beel. In fact, this Deepar Beel, this wetland, is extension of Rani Reserve Forest and Garbhanga Reserve Forest. They together form the ecosystem in the region. Without this wetland, the forest reserve, the fauna, will not survive. When there is a flood-like situation, wetland absorb water. And when the summer comes, the wetland releases water and sustain life in the ecosystem. These forest reserves means nothing unless there are water bodies in and around these forest reserves. The Beel sustains many plants. Those plants are eaten by the elephants, which are important fauna of the reserve forest. That's how an ecosystem works. UPSC previously has asked, which of the following is the best description of the term ecosystem? Ecosystem is community of organisms living together with the environment. So both biotic and abiotic component come in the concept of ecosystem. If you separate the forest from the water body or the water body from the forest, you are actually destroying the ecosystem. This is not just the death of one lake, one beel, one wetland. This is the death of entire ecosystem. Additionally, you can see here the rail line. It has divided the wetland into 2 parts. One half of the wetland is at the verge of dying. The rail line cuts right through the heart of the wetland. The wetland originally was receiving water from river Basista and river Kalmani. But these rivers are getting polluted from the industrial effluents from the city of Guwahati. So the wetland is becoming toxic. You must note that Deepar Beel wetland does not get water from Brahmaputra river, although it is in Brahmaputra valley. The excess water from the wetland does flow out into the Brahmaputra, but the wetland does not source its water from the Brahmaputra river. The Deepar Beel wetland is full of life. It houses many flora and fauna. Some of the fauna you must note for the exam. Among the birds, cylinder-billed vulture are found there. Along with the list of the name of the fauna, you must also know their IUCN conservation status, which for the cylinder-billed vulture is critically endangered. Greater adjutant stock are also found there. They are endangered. Lesser adjutant stock, vulnerable. Then there are other birds, and it will be good if you remember their name and IUCN conservation status. For example, spot-billed pelican, near threatened. Black-necked stork, near threatened. Large whistling teal, open-billed stork, and peasant-tailed janakas, these are least concerned. The reserve forest around the wetland houses huge number of elephants, and there is also an elephant corridor in the region. The IUCN status of Asian elephant is endangered. There are leopards, which are vulnerable. Barking deers, they are least concerned. Chinese porcupine, which belongs to the family of rodent, least concerned. Sambar deer are also found there, and it is vulnerable. You must be aware that for your prelims examination, you have to have a long list of fauna and also flora along with their IUCN conservation status. You just have to chip this in that list, or it might already be there in your list. Now let's talk about something very important that will help you understand as to why conservationists are so concerned about wetlands in general, and in this case, the Deepar Beel wetland. Efforts are being made since 2008 to get this wetland categorized as eco-sensitive zone for the Deepar Beel Wildlife Sanctuary. Wetland, first of all, is any water body, no matter what the size is. It could be man-made, natural, salty, brackish, freshwater, permanent or temporary, whatever. Any water body of substantial expanse is considered as wetland. The paddy field submerged under water is also considered as wetland. Wetlands are the most productive ecosystem on Earth. It supports numerous flora and fauna, and it's directly or indirectly linked with food security and too much of economic benefit. Wetland serves as natural rainwater harvesting site. It collects the precious rainwater within it. Water supply to the big cities many a times come from these wetlands. Wetlands which are in close vicinity to rivers also acts as buffer that control the flood and river flow. When the level of these rivers rises, water flows into the wetland. And when the river water level decreases, water from these wetlands gushes into the river and maintain the average flow, sustaining the life in the region. Mangroves, which are mostly found in such ecosystem, not only protects the land from speedy waves, but offer protection from cyclones as well. You must be aware that during 2004 tsunami, it was found that the coast with good mangrove vegetation were least affected. Wetlands also act as natural rainwater recharging zones. Waters getting stored in the wetland slowly percolates into the aquifers. You see, every water system has a self-cleansing mechanism. Even lakes does that by sedimentation. But wetland is much advanced in cleaning up the water. Many flora and fauna present in wetland are found to be effective in treating water, even if the percentage of coliform is very high. Many species of algae and plants have remarkable capacity of accumulating the heavy metals into their stems and leaves. This is why wetlands are also called as the kidney of the ecosystem. Wetlands, you see, also play a great role in regulating local climate, particularly the temperature and the moisture. The phytoplankton community are very good carbon sequesters and absorb carbon dioxide much faster than terrestrial plants. So wetlands acts as very good carbon sinks. They become natural habitat for numerous animals and plants. Wetland being the most productive, cleaning up the ecosystem, providing food security to people around it and also to the fauna living in the region. And they controlling the local climate. They are crucial piece. They are crucial part of the ecosystem. If wetland dies, rest of the ecosystem will soon follow. From the aesthetic and recreational perspective, wetland is a great place. It's a paradise for bird watchers. Now let's talk about eco-sensitive zones. First thing first, it is notified by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and it is notified using the provisions of Environment Protection Act 1986. But I must tell you that eco-sensitive zone as such is not mentioned in the act, but the legislation does empower the government to put restrictions on industrial and other activities around the protected areas, which can be harmful for the ecology. Using those provisions, eco-sensitive zones are notified, and using those provisions, no development zone were also used to be earlier notified. These eco-sensitive zones are generally up to 10 kilometer from the protected areas, the national parks or the wildlife sanctuaries. Again, this limit of 10 kilometer is not mentioned in the Act because the term itself is not mentioned in the Act. The number 10 kilometer comes from the National Conservation Strategy document and also from one of the Supreme Court judgment. But then this limit of 10 kilometer is not written in stone. Eco-sensitive zone can go well beyond 10 kilometer if the government feels the need to do so. The idea of eco-sensitive zone is to act like a buffer, a transition zone between the protected area and the normal unprotected ecology. Because there is no hard line boundary between the protected areas, the national parks and wildlife sanctuaries, and the region around it. So to protect the protected areas from the negative impact of industrial and other activities happening outside, the need of a buffer region was felt. You can think of eco-sensitive zone also like ecotones, the boundary between two different ecosystems. These eco-sensitive zones are very helpful for in situ conservation. It has been well studied and documented that the successful story of Kaziranga National Park for the conservation of rhinoceros has been because of eco-sensitive zone around the national park. Eco-sensitive zones also help in combating the man-animal conflict. If human activities are happening immediately outside the protected areas, there's always increased chance of man-animal conflict. There are certain activities which are permitted within the eco-sensitive zones. The ongoing agriculture can go on as it is. The horticulture practices can continue. Rainwater harvesting or organic farming or use of renewable energy sources and any other such declared green technology can all work in eco-sensitive zone. Certain activities are regulated. Who regulates it? The classification of this permitted activity, regulated activity, and prohibited activity comes along with the notification of eco-sensitive zones. It's the chief warden of the state that classifies activities into these three categories and recommends it to the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, where it gets the final stamp. Activities like construction of electric cables or commercial use of natural water or adoption of heavy technology in agriculture or widening of roads, these can be regulated. But certain activities are prohibited. Mining, prohibited. Polluting industries, prohibited. Sawmills, prohibited. Hydroelectric projects, prohibited. You cannot have the kind of tourism of going above the national park through hot air balloons. So now you have understood the importance of wetland. You understand that since it is important, so it must be protected. And one of the way of protecting it is to declare it as eco-sensitive zone for the concerned protected areas around which the wetland exists. So for restoration of wetland and its conservation, the first thing is the eco-sensitive zone that it has been declared must have effective implementation. And for that, what is of prime importance is to have local participation in terms of local conservation committees. There have been many NGOs and local committees, local bodies, institutions that have been working for conservation of Deepar Beel for long. For example, Early Bird is one of the grassroots environmental organizations that have been working among the tribal community living around the wetland. They're trying to create awareness among the tribal communities, skill them with some alternative livelihood so that the pressure on the wetland for extraction of resources for livelihood decreases. Similarly, Aranyak is a local society for biodiversity conservation. It has been very vocal, it has lobbied very hard for declaring the Deepar Beel as eco-sensitive zone. But now since the wetland region has been declared as eco-sensitive zone, there has to be more follow-up done to ensure its effective implementation. And for that, local participation is quintessential. We saw in the beginning that the wetland draws its water from two of the rivers which now have become the link to dump the waste into the wetland. So a special waste management plan must be put in place by the state government and executed. Just like you must have understood in yesterday's DNS how Rajasthan government is making effort to conserve the Sambar Lake. The infrastructure projects of road and rail has been cutting crisscross through the wetland. Now since it has been declared as eco-sensitive zone, so at least the train stops on the boundary of the lake must be discontinued. The train route, if possible, can be diverted from around the wetland. It's important that the state government develop a sustainable ecotourism model. It is important in every sense. First of all, developmental activities as such cannot stop. State government need revenue. So tourism industry has to work, but it has to work in a sustainable manner. Additionally, ecotourism model will develop sources of livelihood. The villages around the wetland are socio-economically backward. So, unless alternative means of livelihood are given to them, the pressure of resource extraction from the wetland will remain high. See, the region around the Deepar Beel have natural depression. It has been suggested that using them, and in fact even increasing the storage capacity of these depression, the runoff that comes from the rivers and the streams can be treated before discharging into the lake. There are many algae, many plants that absorb much of the pollutants, the heavy metals. They can be grown in these depression region, or even the simple sedimentation process can be used to filter out the water, and those sedimentations can be periodically cleaned up. And the most fundamental thing, awareness, education regarding conservation. Rachel Carson wrote a book, The Silent Spring, and that book formed the basis for the beginning of environmental movements. So, writing, creating awareness, they are fundamental in any conservation activity. There is an article on page number 3. Citizens group object to the proposed waste to energy plant. They say that the consequence of this on plant and on human health and on Aravalli ecosystem will be enormous and irreplaceable. See, waste to energy plant and the technology used in this is extremely important. UPSC in 2019 has asked a question in the context of which of the following the term pyrolysis and plasma gasification mentioned. The answer, of course, is waste to energy technologies. So, waste to energy technologies is an important topic for the mains that you will be writing next year.
First of all, let us see importance of converting waste to energy or the importance of waste to energy power plants. Niti Aayog under Swachh Bharat Mission envisaged using waste to energy power plant as means to waste management and developing good sanitation in cities. Because of rapid urbanization, India is generating huge amount of solid waste. Our urban solid waste generation is around 62 million tons every year. Because of this high waste generation and because of new opportunity opening in the energy market, waste to energy has more value than just environmental. The municipal solid waste to energy market presently is growing at 9.5%. There is huge opportunity in terms of economics, industrial development, employment generation, etc. If we talk about waste to energy conversion from organic matter, waste to energy conversion becomes even more pertinent because according to many estimation and the one given by Food and Agriculture Organization, 40% of food produced in India are wasted. When waste are converted to energy, the waste in the process of conversion are also processed, or to say otherwise, they are made less toxic. So the waste which ultimately comes out of a waste to energy power plant, that can be used in safe landfills and that will cause less harm to land and to water bodies. Because of sustainable use in terms of landfills or in terms of construction material, the energy coming from waste is considered as renewable energy. According to estimation of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, India has approximate potential of 5,700 megawatt that can come from urban and industrial waste. Waste to energy conversion is also a sunrise industry. Government is incentivizing this industry and it is becoming new business opportunity for entrepreneurs. If we can develop more technology for waste to energy conversion, that will have other spin-off benefits. One, we can give this technology to other Asian countries. And two, if we are successful in conversion of waste to energy in terms of urban waste or organic waste or industrial waste, then we can venture into treatment of sewage waste as well. And also hazardous industrial waste. Waste to energy is an important topic for the mains examination for economics, for environment, and also for science and technology. However, despite these benefits, waste to energy power plants in India have not really taken off. Presently, there are around 186 waste to energy plant in India. This number is little old. We did not have updated data on this. This is of September 2020. As and when you get the updated number on this, please update your notes. The total cumulative installed capacity of waste to energy power plant are around 320 megawatt. Niti Aayog envisaged developing power plant capacity of waste to energy power plants of around 800 megawatt. So a large gap remains to be filled. Also, as per the report of Center for Science and Environment, half of the waste to energy power plants
are defunct or they work with very low efficiency. So obviously there must be some problem with India's waste to energy power plants. First of all, the municipal solid waste in India have low calorific value, meaning the amount of energy that can be drawn from unit mass of solid waste is less. And the municipal solid waste in India have high moisture content. When the moisture content in the waste is high, better, more advanced and costly technology are required. Simple thermal heating, when the moisture content is high, result in low conversion of waste to energy. Also, since the municipal waste in India are mostly unsegregated, there are high inert element in the waste that does not help in conversion of waste to energy. The use of PVC in India is very high. PVC is a kind of plastic, polyvinyl chloride. Because of presence of chlorine, it becomes even more carcinogenic than normal plastics. So the pollution from India's waste to energy power plant is high. And as discussed, because of low calorific value, that is because of higher presence of inert content and high moisture content, the cost of electricity generation from waste to energy power plants in India is high. Presently, it is around twice the cost of that of coal-based power plant. One of the technologies used in waste to energy plant is biomethanation. Biomethanation technologies so far were imported, but recently CSIR in collaboration with other institutes has started to try out biomethanation technology in India as well. With Indianization of the technology, perhaps the cost of electricity generation from waste to energy power plants in India will be reduced. Then because of issue of pollution that we have discussed, because the waste are not segregated and because of PVC usage in India, there have been protests and criticism of waste to energy power plant. For example, one very prominent protest was staged against Okhla waste to energy power plant. People in general are having negative attitude towards waste to energy power plant even though the energy created from them are considered as renewable. The technology used for waste to energy conversion can be classified into 4 categories. The most basic, rudimentary, fundamental method of converting waste to energy is thermal conversion. Basically, you heat up the waste at high temperature. That leads to degradation and complete oxidation of waste at that elevated temperature. However, you would understand that even carcinogenic emission will be very high in this case. Everything will be broken down, everything will be boiled up. You will not have any fuel product. You will only have thermal product, maybe in form of emission hot gas, and that you can use to heat other things up, converting heat energy into some other form of energy. When you have organic matter as waste and that organic matter is non-biodegradable, then thermochemical conversion technologies can be used. This is a little upgradation from thermal conversion. Although in this as well, waste is heated at high temperature, but since this is organic matter, you get some fuel product as well. Especially when the moisture content in the waste is less, then thermochemical conversion works better. The reason being, when moisture is less, you can have producer gas, which is mixture of carbon monoxide, hydrogen, and some amount of carbon dioxide as well. If you have more moisture, then you will not have the producer gas in this pure form. Then again, you will not have a fuel product. You will only have a thermal product, some emission, hot gases, but you will not have a fuel product, something that can be used further as fuel. An upgrade from thermochemical conversion is biochemical conversion. Chemical conversion meaning you will have some fuel product, and biochemical would mean that you will have enzymatic decomposition of organic matter. So here you had organic matter, but the organic matter was not to be biodegradable, mostly non-biodegradable, but biochemical conversion can work better if you have high percentage of organic biodegradable matter. Only then the enzyme can perform their function. And for enzymatic action, you also need to have high level of moisture. So this method is ideal for organic products, ideal for vegetable food wastes. They are organic, biodegradable, and they also have high moisture content. In this method, you will get fuel product and not just random emission of hot gases. You can get methane out of this. You can also get some kind of alcohol, methanol or ethanol. When the waste predominantly produce methane through the process of biochemical conversion, then that technology or the process is called as biomethanation. Methanation is for production of methane, and methane is a very good fuel with high calorific value. Then we have electrochemical conversion. This is a very advanced form of waste to energy conversion technology. It uses microbial fuel cell. Cell is a kind of battery. Fuel cells are one that uses fuels to charge up the cell. That can be done through chemical action. That can also be done through microbial action. Microbial fuel cells uses the oxidation reduction machinery in the microbes. So you will have a fuel cell, you will have electrodes, and you will fill it up by the waste, and you will add microbes in it. The microbes will carry out changes, and there will be inherent reduction oxidation machinery working in the microbes. That will be used to charge up the electrodes. But however, this technology is at very nascent level, and in India, it has not been implemented in any of the waste to energy power plants yet. Perhaps in future it will be done. Now let's talk about way ahead. We have seen the advantages, we have seen the problems. Now let's see how to fill up the gap. To deal with any major issue in the country, you must have a policy. For waste to energy conversion, the state governments must come up with clear policy with regard to allocation of land to the power plants, the supply chain that will deal with the supply of garbages, the wastes to the power plants. We have seen earlier that the use of PVC in the waste to energy power plant creates carcinogenic emissions. And because of that, the pollution caused by these power plants are very high, and hence the protest. Waste Management Rules 2016 already has asked to phase out PVC. We need implementation of this. There must also be proper implementation of Municipal Solid Waste Rules 2000 that aims at ensuring segregated solid waste. Because of non-segregation, inert material in the waste becomes very high. The calorific value of the waste decreases and the efficiency of power plant reduces. That results in high cost of energy generation. In order to implement the policy and legislation, you need to have proper functioning institution. Municipal corporation that is responsible for collection of waste and then supplying it to the waste power plant must be strengthened, both in terms of human resource, training and finance. Niti Aayog in its vision document has asked for establishment of Waste to Energy Corporation of India. This has not been done yet. In order to develop waste to energy power plant as a promising industry that will not only solve the environmental problems but will also be economically very beneficial, we must have an overarching body like this. Then we must have infrastructure development. We already have around 186 waste to energy power plant, but according to the recent report of Center for Science and Environment, half of them are defunct. Many of them work at very low efficiency. China has more than 300 waste to energy power plants, and it has set a national target of using 1/3 of the waste in these power plants. Sweden is a country that imports solid waste because it can convert waste into energy with very high efficiency. So we need to create infrastructure both in terms of number of waste to energy power plants and the technology used in those power plants. One of the suggestions is that railways, which itself creates lots of waste, from the canteens at railway stations, from the catering services in train, can establish waste to energy power plants near big railway stations. Then there has to be certain model through which the governance, the administrative structure of waste to energy will work. One of that is power purchase obligation. Delhi Metro recently has started receiving 2 megawatt energy from 12 megawatt waste to energy power plant in Ghazipur. Large energy consumer like metro and railway and other businesses, they can be asked to have a power purchase obligation from these waste to energy power plants. K. Kasturi Rangan Committee recommended PPP model for waste to energy plants. Many of the PPP model have come up, but for creation of more infrastructure, more thrust must be given for PPP model. Waste to energy power plants recently in India have been facing difficulty because of protest coming from public. Difficulty is also at the stage of land acquisition, land clearance, and once the power plant is up and running, then also they face protest. This is largely on account of high polluted emission coming from these power plants. So first that needs to be set right, and then people must be made aware of environmental advantages of these waste to energy power plants. More technology needs to be developed. The technology that we are working with, A, they are imported, and B, they are not very advanced. We can cooperate with countries like Sweden for technology transfer.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to show what you have learned. Question 1. Well, the largest freshwater lake in Northeast India is Loktak Lake. Deepar Beel has been designated as an important bird area by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and BirdLife International. Well, in declaration of an area as an important bird area, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has no role to play. And this precisely makes the statement incorrect. Deepar Beel draws its water from river Brahmaputra. Although the lake is in the Brahmaputra valley, but it does not draw water from the river Brahmaputra. The statement is false. It draws water from river Basista and river Kalmani. Deepar Beel borders Kaziranga National Park. Well, if it did, we would have discussed. Since we didn't, so it doesn't. They are in fact far apart, around 170 km apart. Which of these you are likely to sight in Deepar Beel or the region around Deepar Beel or the Deepar Beel wetland? Hullock gibbon, sambar deer, snow leopard, lion-tailed macaque, and Indian wild ass. Well, Hullock gibbon is the only ape to be found in India and it is found in the northeastern region. This is likely to be sighted in the region around Deepar Beel. Sambar deer is present there prominently. Snow leopard, as the name suggests, will not be found lower down in the plain. So no. Lion-tailed macaque is only found in the Silent Valley National Park. So no. Indian wild ass is to be found in the Kutch region of Gujarat. So no. Which of these have IUCN conservation status as endangered? Asian elephants, leopard, Hullock gibbon, barking deer. Well, Asian elephants are endangered, yes. African elephants, by the way, are vulnerable. Leopard are vulnerable, not endangered. Hullock gibbon, they are endangered, so this will be taken as the answer. Barking deer are least concern. So Asian elephants and Hullock gibbon. Which of these has or have IUCN conservation status as critically endangered? Birds with IUCN conservation status as critically endangered are not too many, and you have to know each one of them. Cylinder-billed vulture is one of them. Greater adjutant stork is endangered and lesser adjutant stork is vulnerable. Eco-sensitive zones are notified by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and regulated by state governments. Well, so far it is correct. It is indeed notified by Ministry of Environment, but they are not regulated by the state government. Otherwise, there is no purpose of notification from the central ministry. The statement is false. Normal agricultural activities are allowed in eco-sensitive zones. It's a factual statement, correct. Municipal solid waste in India has low calorific value and high moisture content. Because segregation of the waste does not happen properly and there is delay in collection, so this is a problem for waste to energy industry in India. The statement is correct. Electricity Act 2003 has provision of power purchase obligation on DISCOMs. The purchase obligation on DISCOMs from the waste energy plants. The statement is completely hypothetical. There is no such provision in the Electricity Act 2003, but it's a suggestion that a provision be brought. The statement as of today is incorrect. Early harvest package, often in news, is related to agricultural subsidy. This is an incorrect statement because early harvest package is related to free trade agreements. There is a news on page number 13. India-Australia aim for early harvest trade pact by December. The purpose of these early harvest package is to have a kind of confidence building exercise to get the process started for free trade agreement. When two countries or economic blocs get into free trade agreement, there is a sea change in the economic policy, in the custom duties. The industries on both sides are likely to face short-term challenges. So in order to make the process smooth, they get started with few products. So early harvest trade is actually a mini or micro form of free trade agreement. India and Australia are aiming for it first by December before a free trade agreement can be signed between India and Australia. Now you have what you always have at the end. Please do what you always do at the end. Goodbye. Take care.